You must review Class, Stuart. You must review Class. You must review Class. Review. Review. Class. 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 Class.
Alright, let's do this.
Okay, I know that some people were probably expecting me to do an episode-by-episode review of the all-new Doctor Who spin-off about Coal Hill School, but that's a lot of work and effort is hard, so yeah, fuck it. Anyway, you will all no doubt be aware that when Class was first announced, lots of us found it to be really quite baffling. So ever since then, in order to express that, sarcastic people like myself, Billy from 5 Who fans and tons of other people have been trying to outdo each other with just how disinterested we are with the idea of a tangentially related Doctor Who spin-off about some teenagers at a school fighting aliens. And now that it's almost a year later and I've actually finally sat down and watched the first episode, well, I'm still really baffled. Really, really baffled. I mean, don't get me wrong in anything I say here. Patrick Ness seems like a nice guy with the best of intentions. I'm told his books are great, and as someone invested in the career of BBC Three as a channel, and I've hated seeing it so utterly mismanaged over the years to it basically becoming a dumping ground for repeats, and then it was relegated to online-only content. BBC Three being handed a spin-off of one of the corporation's more successful shows, of course I want this to be a success for them. Believe me, I do. And my rather lacklustre impression of Class after the first episode could just be me really not being the target audience that Class was hoping to attract whatsoever. I mean, the only real reason I'm here in the first place is that it's Doctor Who related, but now I've actually seen it, I'm kinda concerned with just how many people who are Doctor Who fans who've come here to have a look would be the type of people that would get into something like this. I could tell from the outset that it really wasn't going to be made for someone like me because aside from Harry Potter, which I grew up with, I've kinda been impervious to this whole young adult thing that sprung up in the wake of stuff like Twilight and The Hunger Games, and as more stuff got released to the press about what Class was actually going to be like, you know, it's sexy, it features sixth formers, and maybe it's going to have some knobbing in it occasionally. I know that Buffy was in all the press releases, but I could just picture everyone sat around the table discussing what Class was going to be like and who it would be made for. I could picture it being pitched as basically Skins but with aliens. Because so many British dramas about young people that have knobbing in it use Skins as a jumping off point, which I find kinda disheartening because I was one of the people who really, really despised Skins back when it was on. Thing is though, while I was really not a fan of Skins at all, now I've actually seen it, I feel that Class should have taken more cues from it. Skins took one character an episode and primarily focused on fleshing out that character, whereas Class introduces its 4 misfit teenagers, one of whom is an alien, and it cuts between them leading up to this autumn prom, and it never really slows down at any point and goes, okay, this is what the fuck's going on here. What totally shuts me out of stuff like Class isn't so much just the script. I mean, it is the script as well, but it's also the way it's paced and directed. Class just feels like it's edited like a trailer. The music is way too loud and intrusive, every line of dialogue is really short, its scenes are really choppy and fast-paced. It's directed exactly like lots of episodes of modern Doctor Who, particularly the Christmas specials, and this is an issue that's very common with lots of TV that fails to click with me. Do lots of directors think that people's attention spans have gotten shorter? Or have people's attention spans actually gotten shorter and I'm just a freak of nature or something? If you just slow down, chill the fuck out and give me some time to actually connect with your characters on a personal level, I will be more invested in what's happening and not just drifting off into this dull haze for the rest of the runtime. Take Charlie Brooker's Black Mirror that I recently did a video on, for example. It takes time establishing its characters in their world with the central idea that drives the story. It's slow, but it's personal. And hell, it's not even that you can't do lots of stuff in an episode with a wide cast of characters. I recently started watching Stranger Things on Netflix, and that follows 3 or 4 separate sets of characters each episode, whose storylines do interlap, but importantly, it has scenes that last a decent amount of time and a more restrained musical score. And I feel like I'm actually getting to know these people on a personal level. It really lets its actors show off how good they are. You've probably heard it by this point, but it's true, Winona Ryder is fucking incredible in Stranger Things. Just all of the personal interactions, like the initial scene in the classroom, just felt really forced and unnatural to me, because it just feels like they're just trying to get whatever this scene's meant to be doing done and out there so we can move on to the next bit. With not just Class, but lots of things like Class, I gotta keep saying I don't totally blame the team making it here, as I know the sort of thing they're trying to imitate, but it just feels like they're too concerned with whether or not I'm about to get bored, and as a result, I don't care about anything that's going on screen, and I get bored. Take, say, this scene here, where Tanya, she's had a bit of a rough day, she's stressed, she's mumbling to herself, and she's being followed home by this mysterious shadow. This could have made for a decent atmospheric scene, but because, like with most scenes in this episode, it's so short, so choppy in the way it's put together, and it's played alongside music designed for use in a trailer, and as a result, I'm not really getting anything from it. It's not making me feel any sense of creeping dread, which is what a scene like this should be doing. It just feels like the director's trying far too hard to impress me. Ooh, and look at this pretty spinny bit here. Ooh, and look at this bit where the camera's shooting images and moving while shooting those images. Oh my god, that's like 2 things at once. Okay, so now we're in Tanya's bedroom, and there's this shadow creature there, and it's going, "Rah, I am a monster." It goes way too quickly and it just becomes totally overwhelming after a while, especially if you're a regularly tired, cynical fuck like me. Maybe I would have liked something like this when I was a teenager, but I just tend to get bored if I'm not given characters that I can really feel a connection with these days. I just want to feel something. Anything! Because of the insane pacing issues, you don't really get inside anyone's heads and really get to know them. Part of that's because it feels like it's trying to do an entire season's worth of story arc in one episode. And as a result, it kind of becomes really hard to follow. I barely had any idea what was going on by Act 3, by which point I'd pretty much zoned out and was absent-mindedly cleaning my desk in the background. So from what I can remember, there was this teacher lady who's secretly an alien, and she has a gun that she can't use herself, but she can get a student to use it to shoot these shadow monsters, and she gets a student killed. And there's more shadow monsters coming through this rift thing, and these people come from an alien planet, and they have this cabinet thing, and the shadow people want the cabinet or something, and the shadow people are allergic to daylight, and the Doctor shows up and does that and stops them. Yeah, the Doctor's cameo in this episode really bothered me. His showing up and finding a way to end the story for them kind of just hammers home that Class is playing second fiddle to the main show, which is not in any way what a spin-off should be doing. I mean, I did know from the get-go that the Doctor would have a cameo. I didn't know it was going to be an important one, like saving the lives of all the characters in episode 1 of the series. But this kind of sums up the problem I had with Class, and it's a very similar problem to one that I've had with New Who in recent years. I can tell that Patrick Ness has some talent and imagination, I can see that much, but it feels like he's been handed a list of things that Class has to do in order to draw people in, and been told, Basically just do all of that. Stylistically, it looks and feels exactly like modern Doctor Who, and along with that, people make aloof references to the Doctor a fair bit and talk up how brilliant and amazing and wonderful he is, when Doctor Who itself has been doing more than enough self-aggrandizement lately. I don't want to be too harsh. As said, Patrick Ness seems like a nice guy who probably has the best of intentions, and I'm totally unfamiliar with his previous work, and I do hope this works out well for him, and I wish him the best, but to me, Class just feels like it was totally rushed together to supplement the fact that there's no Doctor Who this year. You've got one guy writing 8 episodes and you want it out around the time that Doctor Who was on last year to try and make up for the fact that it's not on this year, when a spin-off shouldn't be a supplement to tide fans over until the main show's back on again. Class should have been allowed to be something new and different and fresh, because aside from the occasional bit of gore and the odd swear word or two here and there, it just doesn't feel like there's much in the way of a point. But again, maybe that's just me. And again, I've only seen the first episode. Maybe it gets better, but I'll never know because I don't have enough interest to continue with it. People asked me to talk about it. I tried it, found it really wasn't for me. Apparently other people like it. Good for them. Now I am going to stop talking about it. The end.